Section 9.1, Part 3. Lesson objective. Construct a confidence interval for a population mean assuming that the population standard deviation is known using technology, Minitab or Statcrunch. We will begin with our Facebook example. A random sample of 40 users from the website produces a sample mean of 130.8 friends. Find a 95% confidence interval mu, the population mean number of friends. Assume that the population standard deviation is 53. So from this we know that x bar, our point estimate, is 130.8. Sample size n is equal to 40. Population standard deviation is 53. And our z alpha over 2, since we're doing a 95% confidence level, our critical value of z is 1.96. So here we are in Minitab, and the way we construct a confidence interval using Minitab is we first go to Stat, Basic Statistics, and then we go to one sample z. In this example we have summarized data, so we click Summarize Data. We type in the sample size, 40. We type in the sample mean, x bar, which is 130.8. And then we type the population standard deviation, which is assumed to be 53. If we click Options, here's where we can change the level of confidence. The default's 95, and that's what we want to do in this example. So we hit OK. And then we hit OK again, and we see in the session window we have our 95% confidence interval written in interval notation. To construct a confidence interval using Statcrunch, we go to Stat, Z Statistics, one sample with summary. We type in our sample mean, x bar, 130.8. Population standard deviation is assumed to be 53, and our sample size was 40. Hit Next. Click on Confidence Interval. The default's 95%, that's what we want, and we hit Calculate. Statcrunch gives us our confidence interval. Here's the lower limit, here's the upper limit. Our next example, construct a 99% confidence interval about the population mean weight measured in grams of pennies minted after 1982. Assume that sigma is equal to 0.02 grams. So we have 17 pennies that's been weighed, and we're going to use Minitab and Statcrunch to compute the confidence interval. If we have raw data in Minitab, once we put the raw data in C1, we can have Minitab compute the confidence interval. But in this case, before we do that, we need to check the assumption. Since our sample size is less than 30, we have 17 values. We need to check to see if the original population is normal. And the way we do that is by the probability plot, or Statcrunch calls it the QQ plot. The way we construct a probability plot in Minitab is we go to Graph. We go down to where it says Probability Plot. Keep it single, hit OK. We select C1, hit OK. And we have our probability plot, and based upon this all the data points are within our bands, so that looks good. If we want to double check, we can do a box plot. Go to Graph, Box Plot, hit OK. Select C1, hit OK. Box plot shows no outliers. So we're ready to continue. So to construct a confidence interval with raw data in Minitab, we go to Stat, basic statistics, and again one sample Z. Our data is in C1, so we need to click in this box, and C1 pops up over here. We select it. We need to put in our standard deviation for the population, 0.02, and we need to click options to change the confidence level from a 95 to a 99. Hit OK. Hit OK again, and Minitab in the session window computes our 99% confidence interval for the mean, weight, and pennies minute after 1982. To compute the confidence interval using Statcrunch, you first type in the data in column bar 1. To check to see if the assumption is satisfied, we go to graphics and we go to QQ plot. We select bar 1 and hit create graph, and we see that the points are pretty much linear, so it looks like our assumption is satisfied. If we want to be sure, we can construct a box plot, make sure there's no outliers. So you go to box plot, select var 1, go next, and we need to check to make sure that the fences are used to identify outliers. Hit create graph, and we see there's no outliers. So we may go on and construct the 99% confidence interval. Statcrunch, we go to stat, Z statistics, one sample with data. We select var 1 where it says standard deviation optional. It's not optional. We need to put in our assumed population standard deviation, which is 0.02. Hit next. We want to click confidence interval and change the level from 0.95 to 0.99. Hit calculate, and Statcrunch produces our confidence interval. Here's the lower limit, here's the upper limit to our confidence interval. Thanks for watching.